think it has. But anyways, so this looks a little bit longer, is a little bit longer than my ADS story. So bear with me. Got my water, got my coffee, got my front and back. Yeah. Anyway, so my story of autism. You know, I'm not even sure how I started researching autism or Asperger's. The only thing I remember is little memes kept popping up in my Pinterest feed, and I would read one here and there, and it sounded an awful lot like me. So things that I've noticed about myself, I've been doing some homework on Asperger's, a form of autism, lately. I mentioned it to my therapist, psychologist, a couple weeks ago. I've been researching it since then. I brought quite a stack of information today, underlined and noted, to a doctor's appointment, underlined and noted on all kinds of different things that I found that could very well be why I am the way that I am. I'm finding little idiosyncrasies about myself that have just always been part of me that I didn't know could be because I'm autistic. The way I put my clothes on, the fact that I have to do my socks first, is one of my idiosyncrasies. Brian thinks it's funny. The fact that I love to do research on things is because of my autism. The fact that I'm always picking my fingers or picking my skin or something. My fingers are always moving, touching something. This is because of autism, Asperger's. The fact if I see something that needs to be done, I think I won't have time to finish it. I won't even start it. That is part of my personality type and autism. Dishes, for instance, this is something I'm constantly working on. After a meal, After a meal, I'm just done. I don't want to do anymore, and there's still a pile of dishes in the sink, and I'll leave it there because if I can't finish it, or if I'm too tired or drained or whatever for any reason, I don't think I can't finish it, I won't start them. The funny thing is that they don't even take very long. I just don't want to do it. Not like it's because I don't want to do it. I just mentally don't think I can, so I just don't. This is also the reason I don't like to clean the house with other people around. I'll be derailed from my project, so I can't finish it the way I like. It distracts me, so if people are around, I won't clean because they make me distracted, and then I won't finish the project the way I wanted to do it in the time frame I wanted to do it, the way I wanted to do it. Let's see here. The fact that I bite my lower lip all the time. I'm always chewing my lower lips because of the texture of the dead skin on it bothers me. I actually peel off the dead skin with my teeth sometimes, assisted by my fingers. Obviously not very good for your skin to peel it off. The reason I look like I'm picking my nose because I don't like the feeling of anything in my nose or ears. I always have to pick something with my fingers because this means, sometimes this means picking the blemishes on my face. This stimming can be destructive. The reason I talk to myself a lot, because I'm ironing out what I want to say. I want to make sure I say things right. I want to make sure that I might compensate for anything negative that might come up. So that way if something negative does come up, I'm not surprised and it doesn't overwhelm me as bad. I'm prepared for it. The fact that I love to type. The fact that I'm not very good with verbal communication. I'm much better with written communication, even reading it out loud. Because with written communication, I don't have to worry about if my thought will come out properly. I don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing because I can see it, I can edit it. I don't feel like an idiot. The reason I have never had real deep relationships with a lot of people. I'm friendly with a lot of people, but I don't have very many actual relationship connections. I have Beth, Brian, I have a friend Jessica that I met back in high school. We have reconnected. I have another friend, Crystal. I won't tell them everything I can tell Beth and Brian. Jim Ashley in junior high, he was also an oddball, so that's probably why, I haven't really had a lot of deep relationships. I do have another friend who's becoming a close friend, Chelsea. The reason I don't understand sometimes if something is socially unacceptable, the reason I didn't date anyone until Brian, because I'm not antisocial, I'm just selectively social, and I didn't think it was in my best interest to be with anyone. I didn't see a point of being in a relationship with someone when I had schoolwork to do. I'm very realistic. I saw nothing wrong with the relationship as it was as a friend. I didn't have time to do both. I struggled enough with school. That was my priority. I had a list, and at that time when people would ask me to date them, whatever, I didn't feel like it was necessary. And honestly, I've never been very sexual until Brian, LOL. I've always been a rules person. I go by the rules. When I'm filling out pieces of paper, I have to fill in all the blanks if I can fill it in. The reason I love certain textures, I love cotton and fleece. The reason I have a bubble around me, I don't like people to get close because this is my space. You have to respect that. The reason I can hug on someone or be cuddly, but when other people try to be lovey on me, I freeze and retreat. The reason I am a social chameleon, I can blend myself into any setting that I'm a part of. I either just become a wallflower and make it look like I'm busy eating or something. I'll find some other random wallflower and start talking to them because I don't want just anybody coming up to me and talking to me because I don't care for small talk. My conversations are intelligent conversations. I have to have a reason to talk to someone. The fact that I work best with pen and paper instead of trying to use technology for things. The fact that I like routine, preferably a routine that I create, so it's more of a flexible routine. I know that sounds like an oxymoron. The reason I have to have my own organization. I don't mind as much having questions or guidance, but in the end, it has to be organized according to my needs. For example, my craft area, the computer table in my office, they have to make sense to me. The reason sometimes I literally can't change the way something is done. It's not just about muscle memory. My brain doesn't work that way. There's only one way I do it, and someone can suggest doing it a different way, and I might try, but in general, it just doesn't happen, and it causes me anxiety and stresses me out. But I will at least tell them I tried their way, but my way works best for me. The reason I like knowing what's coming up when something starts, the reason I've always been good at the arts, I've always been in crafts and music and writing, interested in dance and DIY things. I've always been very hands-on. I like to know how things work, to understand meanings and the little ins and outs of things. The reason I flourished at the business that I owned and was a successful business owner. The reason my products were as good as they were. I had people rave about them all the time because when I do something, I don't do it half-assed. It's got to be right. In fact, if I did an order, like a custom order, and there was something about it that I was not okay with, like it didn't turn out right, either I would remake it and give them that one for free, or I would give them something else in their order as a freebie. Or I'd even go as far as refunding part of that order because I didn't feel like it was my best product, that it wasn't up to par. Even if it was like a tiny thing that no one else would even notice or care about. If it wasn't up to my standards, nope. The reason I take joy in work puzzles, like crosswords, word searches, the reason I can't stand when my nails get chipped, like if I see them rubbing off or chipping on the ends, I will redo the nail polish. The reason sometimes if a color is too loud for me, I'll take it off and redo it. So that is the reason that I do nail art. If I don't think I would be good at a specific nail art, I won't do it. I don't even like trying it because if it doesn't look good, I'll wipe off the whole nail, sometimes wipe off the whole manicure and redo it. Possibly the reason there have been times where I don't even want to see that I have nails. I literally painted them skin tone and put matte polish on them because it bothered me that I had nails. The reason sometimes there can literally be nothing in the room and the space is just too loud. Or if we're watching a movie and on top of my body having a chronic illness that makes my hearing too sensitive and the brightness too sensitive, sometimes the sound and the sight is too much for my senses. I'll wear earplugs or headphones, sometimes sunglasses, and not just for migraines. Sometimes my senses are just way too heightened. The reason I lash out or yell or hit people when I'm triggered or when I feel threatened or uncomfortable, and I feel really, really bad that happens, and later when I calm down, I'll tell them like this happened because I just too much sensory, or I was triggered by a noise, or there was just too much built up, whatever. But I feel really bad when that happens. It's like a meltdown. It's a meltdown. I read something on I read something on a group on Facebook I'm part of, Women on the Spectrum. Someone posted, recently I was watching old videos of a famous person who passed away in 2016 going through chemo. And my partner said, "Can you shut this off? I don't want to watch this guy suffering." It struck me and made me realize I don't feel emotions when tragic news stories, like my family cries when they watch 9/11 memorials every year. I logically feel bad for those affected by death or tragedy, but I don't really feel anything myself. I wasn't sure if anyone else dealt with this. I feel like there's something wrong with me. That's what she wrote. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is me. I generally resort to humor to deal with hard things. I don't feel, it's called alexithymia. The reason I am goofy at the wrong time or too serious when I don't need to be, my husband actually asked me to stop being goofy when we were going over bills and double checking our statements, and then he starts being goofy. Instead of just letting him get away with it, I decided to call him out, and it was fine. I like that I feel I can be open like that with him. I'm feeling more like I can just be myself, but I'm also learning where social lines are. I have a new book called Boundaries, and I've never known much about boundaries because my brain doesn't see the lines. I can't physically see a line like, okay, this is where I need to stop, you know. So it's very hard for me to know what's okay and what's not. My back hurts. I just figured this out also, why I have to fold the things in my drawers a certain way. My mom taught me how, and from then on it's just always been the same. Sometimes when I have nervous energy, I'll actually go in my husband's sock drawer because he doesn't fold them, and I'll reorganize his drawer folding them. I'm glad he doesn't mind. Back in junior high and high school, I really couldn't tell if someone was into me or not. Like, I would just hang out with people, boys and girls. Honestly, mostly boys. Girls my age weren't mature enough for me. And it was only a handful of boys, Jim, Mike, Steve, and maybe someone from my track team. Mike actually told me a few years ago he was into me. He was really into me in high school, but he never asked me out because he couldn't tell if I liked him or not. Or if I wanted to just be his friend. Apparently, I sent mixed messages. Who knew? And when someone did ask me out, I told them I just wanted to be friends because it didn't seem like a good enough use of my time. I didn't tell them that last part, but I was thinking it, feeling it, like, why would you want to date when we have schoolwork to focus on? I never understood dating in school. There was one guy I had strong feelings for, and we hung out for like 2 years, going places together, going to his parents' house, etc. I actually believe I was in love with him, but I never really put a label on us that we were together. I just really enjoyed being with him. I felt like we both really liked each other, but there were no strings attached, even though I would feel jealous if I saw him close to another girl. All the outcasts were my friends. There was a point where I actually ate lunch with the janitor because I didn't fit in with the kids in my class. I always felt awkward, and he was interesting. I actually ate lunch with him for quite a while. We would talk. I've noticed that having a cat helps me with life. Snuggling them, hearing them purr, feeling them needing their paws. Oh, my husband hates that. I love that. The softness. Maybe this is why I didn't have much autisticness growing up. We always had pets, mainly cats, dogs, hamsters, lizards, fish, guinea pigs. But then I had a harder time emotionally after we got rid of the first cat we had in the apartment when we first got married. I was really super crying sad. I actually hurt my husband's feelings when I said the cat was my sunshine, and I felt like my sunshine had been taken away as I was bawling. I didn't realize this hurt him or why it hurt him. I didn't understand. Probably why I was excited when my middle daughter wanted a pet so bad. And I was super excited for her when my husband finally got her a cat the Christmas after we moved into our house. I feel like the cats are more mine than hers, even though they're really hers. It's so hard for me to calm down when I get upset. And then it triggers my anxiety, which in turn sometimes gives me an attack. Sigh. It's hard for me to accept compliments. It was very hard for me in band when my dad kept pushing me to keep doing it because I was really good. I was first chair flute my junior and senior year. I even got a music scholarship. I enjoyed the private lessons, but I didn't and still don't like being on stage in front of people, whether I'm in a group or not. And I love singing, and I don't mind singing into a recording device. But doing it on video or in person is almost terrifying. I used to do little concerts and shows at my home in order to prepare myself and psych myself up for concerts at school and praise team at church. But when people would make me or encourage me to perform on stage, it made me not want to do it. I actually got a music scholarship to go to college, but then when I went to school, my major was vocal performance, and the classes were too hard for me. So I switched to professional writing, and that was too hard for me too. So I dropped out. I finished 1 year and then left. I enjoyed my job at the college library and doing housekeeping because it was easy for me to work on my own, in quiet, behind the scenes. Even in college, my friends were outcasts and strange people, but I loved them. I still definitely prefer paper and pen over technology. I still prefer to use my CDs or radio over MP3s. I have to have it in my hand. I still prefer books in my hand over audiobooks. I'm getting used to my Kindle. Getting used to it. I actually lose track and zone out during audiobooks and can't process the information unless it's right in front of me. And sometimes I have to reread it and sometimes underline or make a note. If I mess up with my note, I either put a line through it or white it out. I have to have things printed out and organized where I can see them. I have a hard time sometimes when things are in the cloud because I'll forget they're there. For me, it's out of sight, out of mind. I love to type, and I prefer keyboard making noises versus quiet ones, not too loud. Phones for me have to have a home button. I can't stand the newer ones that are getting rid of the button and it's face recognition. I'm getting a little better at that. When my husband has his phone down laying somewhere, I'll look at it, and I might like put my hand on it and touch a button or something. I'm getting used to, because he has one of those newer phones, I'm getting used to the look of it, and sometimes I'll watch him use it. That might sound creepy, but there's sometimes I'll watch him use it. Because mine has the button on it still, but I'm gonna need to replace it soon. So, this is why I have to put my hair up at night, because I can't stand the feeling of my hair being on my neck. Interestingly, I'm actually okay with it being partially down today, and I'll leave it there as long as it doesn't start bothering me. Once it starts bothering me, I'll always have a hairband. Probably also why my hair is pulled up most of the time. I realized recently this is why I have a hard time with emotional connection. I don't cry like other people do, like at movies or even during real life events, like at funerals or birthdays. I don't feel the emotions. I might have a good cry or an aha moment at a later date, but I really just find it easier to be there for someone else who is feeling in these moments. Myself and my best friend have always said I have an emotional stuck. This might even be why I will only use one kind of shaver. When I have to buy a shaver or razor, it has to have metal blade protectors on them. I'm always afraid I'm going to cut off a chunk of skin when I'm shaving. Irrational fear, but it's there. So I literally will not use a shaver without the metal protectors. Luckily, these are usually the cheaper ones. This is why my husband and I don't communicate very well. This is why I start crying every time we try to have like a deeper discussion. This is why I like CDs, a specific type of headphone on ear. Why it takes me a long time to adjust to change, if I adjust to change. There was a week, just a little while ago, where I was so triggered by sensation overloaded that I didn't even want to see I had nails. Oh, I already wrote that on here. I heard about some things growing up, animal cruelty, vegetarianism, veganism, but none of these ever really struck a chord. I found out that I am empathetic, but on a certain level. For instance, if I see someone in pain or see a person crying, I hurt for them, I cry for them, I feel what they're feeling. But at the same time, I don't have my own sense of empathy, like my own feelings don't connect. And I don't know what I'm feeling. Alexithymia. It takes me a while to sort that out, and exhausting to think about because it takes forever. I figured out that my body, picking at body parts is a form of stimulation, and part of it is actually the pain associated with it. Like if I pick a scab off and I know I'm causing myself pain, I can feel it, but I'm also possibly going to make myself bleed over and over again because I have an executive function issue. I can see myself doing these things, but I can't make myself stop. I have to follow through and finish what I started. That's why growing up, my dad will tell me to stop picking or poke fun at my pimples and scars. He didn't know this was detrimental to me mentally. And I really honestly couldn't help myself. It was just something I did. And most of the time I do it because of anxiety or overwhelm or even boredom, honestly. Sometimes I'll notice I'm doing it when I'm thinking really hard. Like maybe the pain will jog my brain. Seems like it's a possible reason. My friend Beth just now said my name, Kamala, in her text to me, and it created a flashback timeline of all the times my parents said my name because I'd done something unintentionally unacceptable. I may have to continue this. Oh, I'm almost done. Like a deer in the headlights look, I would do something or say something, and they gave me that, "You're in trouble, why would you do or say that?" I never had an idea of what I had done wrong. This is also the reason I've had special interests during my life. I've always liked nail polish. I've always liked reading and writing. I love researching, and I've been told I go a bit overboard. I get really into it and print out lots of things and go crazy testing about it. Interestingly, this mostly has to do with health-related topics, how the body works, how the brain works, how things are put together. So, obviously, I need to go through and edit. I'll be editing for the rest of my life because this is who I am. It's just a document for myself. But I did promise that I would show you guys or tell you guys my story of autism. So far, that is it. I am diagnosed high functioning autistic. So yeah.